Welcome, everybody, to episode number 9 of the Fanboys Anonymous group meeting podcast. I am your host, the owner of fanboysanonymous.com, Tony Mango, and with me on the panel tonight, we have Mike Paden.
My name is Mike Paden.
And Eddie Siqueira.
That is my name, yeah.
And some other fellow fanboys and fangirls may be joining us later on, maybe not. It all depends on different schedules and whatever. But if that happens, we will introduce them when the time comes. So, this meeting has officially been called to order, and in honor of the recent passing of Robin Williams, today we're going to be talking about a pretty sore subject to some, and that is the whole concept of celebrities taking their own lives and the pressures of being famous, how depression can get even the most rich and famous people down to the dirty, dirty depths that lead to suicide. It's a very depressing topic itself, and it's not, going to be opening itself up to as many jokes as we usually do on here, obviously, because we're not that bad of people. But we're going to try to make sure that this isn't just completely doom and gloom for the entire time, and I'm pretty sure that we're going to make this a quicker episode as well, just because you stick around a topic like this too long, you start getting, really down. But basically, we're going to talk about all those kind of different things, substance abuse problems, drug addictions, and the pressures that being in the limelight can bring onto these people, and the differences between what a celebrity deals with depression and the average person, because it's not like this is something that affects only celebrities. I mean, people that are normal, non-celebrities suffer from this kind of stuff all the time. So you can't really just make this about, the people that are constantly being hounded by the media and everything like that. So generally speaking, we don't really have like topics we need to go down, this one and then this one and this one and whatever. We're just going to kind of spitball and see what happens. One thing I was thinking about that we should talk about before we get into kind of more the adults and the Robin Williams and the drug addiction and whatever like that necessarily, but starting at a young age, child stars in the media tend to be doomed. And it's really a shame, but it seems like, I don't know, maybe half of them turn out to have some kind of drug problems or severe self-esteem issues, and their lives go to shit. And the other half, well, maybe the other, like, 40% of them become nothing. They just stop acting or whatever. And then there's, like, 10% that go on and actually have careers. The Drew Barrymores and stuff, which she had drug problems as well. But what do you guys think it is about child stars that really, it's such a demanding thing? Is it the fact that they're in the spotlight at a young age? Is it their parents that's doing this for them? Is it the pressure of already peaking at that early time of your life that they can't ever actually build towards anything else? I mean, most people, when they're a kid, and then they start growing up. These kids have to essentially grow up and do things that adults don't even do in a lot of different ways. So, I mean, what do you guys think about child stars and when it comes to all their pressures and everything? Paden?
Well, when you mention child stars, it certainly is a two-way street one that can go either way. I mean, you look at people that have just gotten downright dirty when they've grown up, like the Olsen twins or like Miley Cyrus. But then on the other side of the coin, you got people like Emma Watson, who has just grown up into perfectly classy women. So it can go either way. But when you talk about pressures on children, the number one that's always going to pop up in my head is a story of Judith Barcy. You know who Judith Barcy is?
Doesn't sound familiar.
She voiced the little girl on All Dogs Go to Heaven. She also did one of the voices in The Land Before Time and a couple other things. She was a pretty popular child actress during the mid-'80s. And she came from a really abusive home. Her father was a psycho, and the more famous she got, the more psycho he got, eventually getting to the point where she had Child Protective Services called a number of times, but she just kept denying it because she loved her family. She wanted to stick with them. But it had a really tragic ending when her neighbor heard gunshots, and then by the time she looked over, the house was already on fire, and there was nothing to do.
Gunshots and fire?
Mm-hmm.
Damn, that's really like overcompensating, isn't it? It's psychotic, really.
No one knows the exact story of went down. We can only assume that the abusive father was involved in this, but yeah, there's a good example of a child star pressure affecting the whole family, not even just the child. I mean, this child never got to have a normal life as a kid between always being at the request of their directors or having to deal with this abusive parent. It's just this kid's life was robbed from her both as her childhood and her actual life. It's a horribly tragic story, and I love the girl in All Dogs Get Heaven. She does a perfect job in that movie, and it's a shame that she never got to continue with her career or her life, more importantly.
Yeah, that's between the two of them, But what do you think about this, Eddie? Is it one of those things where they're kind of just doomed ahead of time because it breeds that sort of an environment, or is it specific people? Their parents are not good enough parents, and their friends that they end up becoming involved with are the wrong crowd, and their producers and their managers and everything are too money hungry, and they don't care about the kid themselves, or is it just it's going to happen, inevitable kind of thing?
Fame is horrible no matter what age. That's a fact. I just want to touch on the child actor thing real quick. Mike mentioned that Emma Watson is turning out to be fine, and I agree. Well, we haven't seen her doing any porno tape or doing coke or whatever. Um, so that's fine. I think the young actresses from Game of Thrones, they're having a lot of fun on Twitter and whatever else.
I wish
They're
Maisie
doing
Williams
great.
would become a slut.
She's not, dude. She's not even that hot. But
Yes, she is.
Yeah, she's got that weird face.
She's got an adorable
to
face.
to each. You know.
Oh, this is supposed to be about like tragic things, but
Yeah, this is tragic, not hot stuff, right? We'll have a hot stuff podcast. Anyways,
Hot child
they're from a different culture. I mean, they're British, right?
yes.
Hollywood is a mess. Nobody is your friend in Hollywood. Nobody cares about anyone in Hollywood,
Mm.
right? It's really all about the money. It's all about the cash. It's all about the prestige, the fame, the fortune, and it's passed on from generation to generation. And if fame is such a terrible thing for adults already, let me give you an example, okay? One of my instructors at college, he worked up close and personal with Deep Purple, Red Hot Chili Peppers, like I think Backstreet Boys, even in so many, a lot of other big artists, and he got to know a lot of people, and like he is friends with Tony Iommi from Black Sabbath, and he told me that in public that guy he wears a mask. It's not really him. And when in private, when they're like having lunch or something, he's cool. He's a nice guy. He's all right. And then he mentioned this to me because I asked him about Marilyn Manson. I'm like, this guy, I'm a fan of the music and all. We were talking about marketing and the image of artists, and I said, well, come on, like I know Marilyn Manson kind of, he keeps changing all the time and stuff, and in terms of marketing for him, it totally worked. And he's like, oh, I agree, but he has to be this weird image. He has to sell this drug fueled demon, antichrist, and then the next he's androgynous, and then the next he's a vampire. He has to do this because fame is terrible, and if you are yourself. If you start talking about, oh man, like my sister's not doing very well or whatever, they will rip you to shreds. The tabloids will rip you apart, and they'll invent, they'll bad mouthing your family and stuff. So even though, okay, the example that I used, Marilyn Manson, has been open about his family in the past, um, that's something you don't want the media to get to your family, because once it gets to your home, once it gets to where you're safe from that whole chaos, you're dead. That's it. It's the end. You have to literally abandon everything and run away. And so many actors and musicians, they kind of lost their minds, not only to drugs, they go downright crazy. People were saying Dave Chappelle went crazy for a while, when in reality he called it like it was, and he just said enough. you know, because they were working him to death. They were like, no, here's more money, do it. And then even when they, I don't know what the story with Dave Chappelle is. Do you guys know what happened? He wasn't getting paid like well enough, but they wanted him to work more and more. And then when he was finally going to get a new contract or something, they said no, but you have to produce this much more for this long, and he just didn't do it. So you can imagine what happens to a kid, right? You can imagine, if you don't have the proper environment for that to happen. I mean, these British actors, they start with doing like Shakespeare, in some theater in London, and then in America, it's like, oh, okay, you're good enough. We'll sell you. We'll put you on the cover of every magazine, and you'll do great. And then, of course, who's not going to be tempted by all that money? The parents immediately go, "Oh, that'd be great. That'd be great."
Right.
But like nobody's really your friend. Like if you don't have the integrity, I think one of the few actors I can think of that actually have integrity is Leonardo DiCaprio. Like I don't remember him ever getting involved in some heavy shit.
Or at least not getting caught.
Well, of course. I mean, people can do whatever they want, but I mean, like to the point where you're messed up for life, irreparable. Like Michael Jackson, I don't know to what point Macaulay Culkin is, but I mean, the fact that he stayed away from the spotlight for like 10 years, like, it's actually something good for him.
You know what he's doing now?
Yeah, what's he doing that we used to mention this before?
He's doing like a Velvet Underground cover band where all the songs are made to be about pizza.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah. That's right.
And they played at some like underground bar in like Minnesota or some shit, stage. And they were booed off stage.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. At least it's out of the spotlight. That's not bad. Hallie Joel Osment, the I See Dead People kid, he disappeared also, which is probably the best. I mean, kid actors are going to suffer the most.
One person
they're dealing with, emotionally, they're dealing with things that they are not meant to be dealing with. And that at a younger age, they're like at age 12 or 13, whatever, they're going to be exposed to coke and weed. I mean, I'm not saying the kids nowadays aren't already, because let's face it, this generation's fucked. But I mean, over there, it's a lot worse.
One person
Right?
who ended up saying before that they really regret ever getting involved in this kind of stuff is Jake Lloyd, the one who played Anakin Skywalker in Star Wars Episode 1, The Phantom Menace. He has done different conventions and stuff because, I mean, there's this kind of like unwritten rule where if you were famous enough that people could recognize your name, but not famous enough that you can actually get steady work, that you do the convention circuits and, you try to capitalize off the fact that you were
Yeah.
you were, I don't know, Lobot in The Empire Strikes Back and shit.
Right.
But he did that for a couple of years afterward, and I don't remember when the interview took place. It might have been last year, it might have been the year before that or whatever. But I remember seeing an interview that they had with Jake Lloyd, who, I mean, he grew up to be like a normal looking guy. He's not like, incredibly overweight or really, really odd looking. Like the people give that Jonathan Lipnicki kid a bunch of bullshit because it was like, apparently he was like this like super cute little kid. I wasn't judging little kids at the time or whatever like that from a parent's perspective, but the adorable little kid and Jerry Maguire, then people were like, oh, he grew up to be an ugly man and whatever. Like, but Jake Lloyd ended up like he growing up the way that he basically looked like he was going to, but despite that, he said that he just got ridiculed constantly for being Anakin Skywalker, which that's not something to get ridiculed about. Like, that's not you were the stupid kid in some kind of a movie. You were fucking Darth Vader. And that was still something that kids wouldn't let him live down in school, and it weighed on him enough where he's getting interviewed by somebody and they said something just about like, so, what do you think of Star Wars now? And he just was super pissed off. He just wants nothing to do with it whatsoever. And
Okay. Go ahead, finish.
You would think that like a lot of these people, the way that fans treat a lot of these things where it's, some of the most important things in their lives, you would think being involved in that would come with this kind of sense of responsibility and the sense of pride or whatever. But there seems like a lot of these kid stars, or adults too, I mean, it happens to everybody, they've got that spike at first where they're super into being famous and super into being well known and all the benefits and all that, and then they resent the fact that they ever did it. I don't know if Edward Furlong is somebody who
Oh
resents the
yeah.
fact that he did it, but I know that he took a real dark turn from Terminator 2, and his career just went to hell. Macaulay Culkin, his career went to hell after the two Home Alone movies. He never did like anything other than a couple things here
He
and
no
there,
he
like
he did, yeah, he
What
did
the
the
about
Richie
Good
Delicious
Son.
Rich,
movie?
the Richie Rich and stuff like that. Like, but none of them were catapulting him into being an adult star.
Yeah, but Macaulay Culkin had his problem was his dad. Apparently, his dad really messed up his whole um like I don't know he like he blew all his money, you know, like 'cause he wasn't allowed to receive anything. It was his guardian, who was his parents, and his dad just messed everything up somehow. There was a whole story with that, but I'm not too savvy on that. But yeah, but Macaulay Culkin actually was really good. He was
He was in
the good son. The
Saved,
good
The
son
Good Son,
was
Party
the
Monster
most.
with Marilyn Manson we were speaking of before.
I have. Oh no, I haven't seen that. But
You haven't seen a Marilyn Manson movie? Some fan you are.
I like the yeah. I like the music. I'm not. Yeah, I like the music. You know, like as far
He
as
was in
the
The Page
movie.
Master. That was awesome.
Who cares?
See, this
I'll
all
watch it.
happened
I'll
right
watch it.
after, relatively soon after the Home Alone movies.
No,
Yeah.
some of this stretches all the way until the 2000s.
What
No,
other
no,
than
no, but, no, no.
Saved?
But before Party
Saved was
Monsters,
in
he.
2004.
Yeah. Well,
But
that
yeah,
was
but
a huge
before
hit.
Party Monsters, like, but between his whole like childhood career, like Home Alone, The Good Son, Richie Rich, all that, Macaulay Culkin went through hell. He wasn't doing well at school. He didn't care. He just became like, I don't know. Sometimes when there's the whole thing, like if you're being paid attention to all the time as a kid, something's gonna happen to your ego. I'm not saying he was being like selfish, like, oh, pay attention to me, pay attention to me. Maybe he was having the opposite. Maybe he was like, don't look at me anymore. Like, oh my God, I'm getting a fucking zit. Like, people are gonna look at that. And imagine all your insecurities. Imagine like, you go to school and you're bullied or something, or you're insecure about something, and then people make fun of that. And then no matter where you go in the world, people will treat you like, aha, you got that thing where we can make fun of you for that. You have
Plus,
no way of escaping. You can't just sit and scroll through Facebook, or open up a magazine or anything without going like, oh fuck, there I am. There's my insecurity again. You can't just disappear from that. It's impossible. I mean, it's there all the time. And then to make sure you don't forget, it's like, oh, don't forget you have an interview with Spin Magazine tomorrow, honey. That's your mom telling you, like, hey, you're 12. What do you want to do? You want to play video games, right? Well, you can't. So there's a whole aspect. I mean, anthropologically speaking, it's really really bad for the fucking species to do this, because you're making a kitten try to jump across the room to get food, but you can't because it's just a kitten. And I was like, oh, you gotta do this. Oh man, but I don't know if I can. You have to. It's money. Yeah, weird analogy, but the point is, yeah, Michael Jackson kind of went through the same thing. I mean, but that just like Macaulay Culkin, and his dad had a big hand in it. I mean, Michael Jackson, like when he was like 8 years old or 9 years old or something, around that period, his older brothers, 12, 13, 15-year-olds, after a concert or something, they would all like share rooms in a hotel or something, and they'd have girls over and they'd have sex. And what's little Michael to do other than like just like lie there and pretend he's not hearing anything?
right.
It's kind of you have all these bizarre situations that's like, oh man, I could handle it, but you don't know, you'll never really notice, like, which is why Michael Jackson would always love, he would always be friends with the child actors, right? But yeah, I mean, it's really the culture. I mean, like there's this like dog eat dog kind of mentality in Hollywood. And if you don't have a really strong like organism to handle all the coke and all the stress and all the excess, and if you can't prioritize what's really important in your everyday, in your weird everyday life, 'cause I mean, what's an everyday life to these people, for these women, these actresses to get manicures and pedicures, they have to like dress up as like a bum, or they got to disguise themselves so that they won't get photographed, which is understandable. And then when people do it, it's like, ah, what a freak, she's doing it. And like I remember there was once Julia Roberts was dressed as a hippie in New York, but she was recognized anyways. And they give her shit. They give her shit for it, and I'm like, oh my god.
Well, what's weird is, I mean, it's not so much weird as it is just sad. Completely wrong word on my part. Uh, when these kids, I mean, we're going more for kids right now, but of course we're gonna get into the things that like the Robin Williamses and stuff. Um, when you deal with these pressures, it seems like the go-to response is to get into drugs because that's something that will ease the pain and it will make it seem more fun, and you've got peer pressure going on. You can't be in the wrong crowd with the wrong people or else they're going to put the wrong pressures on you, and if you don't do it then you're screwed because it's one thing to be a normal person in high school and to have people pressure you to drink or to smoke pot or to smoke cigarettes or whatever like that, and you can turn them down, and really only the negative consequences that you can run into are that group of people thinks that you're lame, or worst comes to worst, you've got the whole school thinking that you're stupid or that you're a pussy or whatever the case may be. When you're in Hollywood, those are people that are connections. Those are people that can ruin your career or they can make your career. So you feel even more pressure to do that. And somebody like a Lindsay Lohan clearly got into the wrong stuff from childhood and it has stuck with her ever since then. And she's not going to get out of it. She's going to end up dying from this kind of stuff, or she's going to screw her life up so much that she's completely out of the limelight. Nobody gives a shit, and she's going to be some washed up old joke, and that'll be it. And when you get into drug addiction, no matter how much you get into it, you're screwing yourself because they don't call it addiction for no reason. People lose their entire lives to drugs. Robin Williams was somebody who struggled with that kind of stuff, and he was unfortunately at the right kind of age at the wrong time period to get into some serious drugs, to get into coke and get into I think that he had done heroin before. I don't want to say that 100%. Don't take my word for it, but I think he had said that he did. Um, and obviously alcohol, and that's very underrated addiction that's out there. But he grew up in a time period where that facilitated that behavior, and that apparently stuck with him up until a week or two before he decided to kill himself. They said that he was being treated for rehab yet again after doing that for multiple different times, and he was never able to kick the habit. Um, but before we get into this kind of stuff, we have another person joining us into the call, Caroline Oliveira. What's up, Caroline?
Hey guys, what's up?
Woo!
We are talking about child stars, and we're going to get into a little bit of drug addiction in general with different people. I just brought up the idea of Robin Williams being a previous drug addict from when he was younger and how that tied into his eventual suicide. And you get these people like Lindsay Lohan that have done that from a young enough age where they're probably not going to be able to kick the habit. If we're on the subject of child stars and when it comes to depression and the pressures of fame and celebrities and suicides and everything like that, what do you think about that? Is that something that child stars are doomed to end up suffering through this, and the only thing that'll stop them is proper parenting, or is it a situation where it's up to the individual person? You got to be strong enough on your own to do it, and if you're predetermined and predestined to fall into these pitfalls, then you're just going to end up doing it. What do you think?
Well, I think that just like any other mental illness or personality trait disorder, it's always a mixture between your environment and if you have any genes that might make you, more prone to addiction and have issues with control or self-control, I guess. I think that the main problem with children that grow up being celebrities is that they surround themselves with a lot of yes people. So if you already come from a family like Lindsay Lohan, for instance, if you already come in a family that your dad is an alcoholic and your mother has issues with drugs, and all of a sudden you're this big person that everybody wants you to be, at their clubs, and nobody's going to say no to you because you're famous and you're still underage, but that's okay because you're famous and they want to surround themselves with people like you. Yeah, it just makes things easier for you to get and try things that you probably shouldn't. And that plus growing up like we all did through our teenage years, we kind of feel like we're immortal and nothing will really affect us. It's easy to get into that place where you're just trying different things, but that's okay because you're just trying and you're still in complete control. But we all know that that's not really the case. And I don't think it's like they're all doomed to it. I just feel like if you already have tendencies in your family, or you surround yourself with people that are just there to make you happy all the time, yeah, you're probably going to be more prone into giving into your demons.
Now, if we're kind of given a little bit of an overview and sort of moving on to another topic, I'm sure we'll mention child stars again here and there. You got to think, some of these people, they were able to turn themselves around. Some people, not so much. We talked a little bit about Michael Jackson. That didn't work out in the end. We got Macaulay Culkin's doing pizza. What was it? What was the name of his band? What was it?
The Pizza Underground.
The Pizza Underground.
Yeah, that's it.
So he's got that going for him. Anything else that he's got going?
He banged Mila Kunis. That's pretty sweet.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, yeah, he was with her for a long time.
So he wins then. He did. So
well, I mean, now she's with Ashton Kutcher. So
yeah, but still,
that's depressing.
Yeah.
Well, funny enough story with that. That's actually a positive story when it comes to kids in childhood. Not kids in childhood. Kids in the entertainment industry. She on that '70s show lied to get onto the show. She told them,
right.
I'm going to be turning 18. And they thought that she was 17 at the time. And she was actually, I think, like 14 or 15. So when she did the whole first season and, she's dating Kelso, Ashton Kutcher's character on the show, like they needed to have her parents there. They needed to sign tons of waivers and everything for her to do like kissing scenes. Ashton Kutcher was apparently her first ever kiss. Period. So it's funny that like that is a positive story of what can happen in Hollywood with kids. It's not all just like, Britney Spears is a part of the Mickey Mouse Club, and so are all these other people, and they all kind of just reach a whole bunch of success, and then go down, and then go back up, and then go down, and whatever. You get some good things that happen there too.
Yeah, but again, just like Caroline said, it depends heavily on your parents. I mean,
right.
Mila Kunis is Ukrainian Jewish. And her parents are like, these old school, set your goal, go for it, and don't waste your time with things that are not good for you. And they totally made her into who she is, and she's a perfectly fine, successful woman.
Can I give you the shining example of a child actor, or what a child actor should strive to be?
Go for it. Phoenix.
Ron Howard.
Ron Howard. Yeah, Ron Howard's not bad. I'm actually going to say Jack Gleason, though. He is the young man who played Joffrey Baratheon on the current hit television series Game of Thrones. This guy, from a very, very young age, became the single most hated person on television. And that's a fact. He is the single most hated person that was on television. Now he's dead. Oh, spoiler for those who haven't watched the show. But he's not on there anymore. He dealt with a lot of public pressure, and he handled it with stride. I don't know what it was, probably his upbringing, but he handled all the public ire so well. All the people who couldn't separate him from the character that he is on TV. People see him walking the streets. Oh, that's freaking Joffrey, you jerk. Can't believe you killed Ned Stark.
Yeah, but like that's the thing.
Hold on. now that this show is done, he's not going to act anymore. He said once his part with the show is done, he's done. He's going to stick with school. He's going to go on his own path with life. And that's perfect. He made one of the most impactful performances of anybody in television, and he's just going to leave it at that. He's okay just being known as Joffrey for the rest of his life, because deep down, he's not Joffrey. He knows he's Jack Gleason, and that's the life he's going to live.
Well, look at his
Okay,
upbringing.
that's a good
He's British.
point. However, I would say that he probably has, I don't want to say his brain is okay. That just sounds bad. But I think that on the mental part of his health, he's healthy. If he was somebody who was struggling with depression or anxiety or any personality disorder, like Britney Spears, for instance, like she's bipolar, it wouldn't be the case,
So are you saying perhaps these people should be tested before they get brought into Hollywood?
Oh, no, not at all. I mean, most of the people in Hollywood have some sort of mental problem. That's what makes them really good at what they are. But I just think that if you and people around you notice that you have some sort of issue, and that brings the point that I feel like it's not explored at all in the world right now, is we don't talk enough about mental health. It's still a taboo. It's easier to say to a child who's acting up that, oh, he just needs some Ritalin, he's just ADD, but you don't know that. Like, there are other things that play into our brains that could really damage us if we're on the spotlight, or if we're not, if we don't talk about these things. And watch out too for, our children and our friends. Yeah, life can be very complicated. So I just think that it just boils out to the fact that we just need to talk about it more and treat it just like diabetes or cancer. Now, we all know about it, and that's okay. But just because with mental illness, you don't get to see on a medical chart or on a blood test coming out positive or negative, it doesn't mean it's not there.
So maybe what we could do is start a viral sensation where people pour buckets of ice water on themselves in order to spread awareness about it.
Yeah, I think that, yeah, sure.
Nah, that'll never catch on.
Let's just do Prozac. Just dump Prozac and eat each other. That'd be awesome.
If I get nominated 3 times to do that, I guess I'll do that too.
I'll start doing it right now.
Well, you bring up a good point about the idea of not necessarily testing ahead of time, but people predisposed to certain mental issues. There's something, and I'm blanking on it on the top of my head, but they've done tests where they've been able to see that the section of the brain that deals with creativity is overlapping with the section of the brain that is insanity and depression and
right.
a lot of the negative sides of things as well. And there is some link between the two of them where you kind of, you're the starving artist. You got to be nuts to do it, or you got to go into a weird, different kind of a mindset to be able to be that good of an actor, because you can pull off being Hannibal the Cannibal Lecter,
right,
and not go nuts. And you look at the way that Heath Ledger was doing his research for the Joker role. The Joker is a tough character to play if you really, really care about it. I mean, for all of us who are fans of the comics and stuff, we know the ins and the outs. We know that he's going to laugh. He's going to be, this prankster kind of a thing. But if you take it less of just the base value and you really try to think of what is going on there, his notes said things like what Joker would find funny, and like AIDS is one of the things. So he was sitting there thinking in his studio apartment, if I was the Joker, what horrible things would I laugh at? And he had to get into that kind of a mindset. And supposedly, I don't know the ins and outs of whether or not it's true or this is just kind of hearsay or what, but something that was going around at the time where Heath Ledger ended up accidentally overdosing was that he was taking sleeping medication because it had gotten to weigh him down so much to think this way that basically even kind of like the role had put too much pressure on him to kill himself. And if you have that predisposition to be able to trigger that part of your brain, where you can get into those dark kind of depths that most people can't do, you're already playing with fire.
Right.
There's that quote about, you be careful to look into the abyss because the abyss is going to look right back into you. If these people like these Robin Williamses and stuff, they've got this ability to trigger something that most people don't. And that's a lot of pressure. Smart people are under much more pressure than stupid people because they know that they have something to live up to and they know when they make a mistake and they can dwell on the mistake. The ignorance is bliss factor comes into play on everyday life. I mean, your average idiot, you can um, give them nothing and they'll be happy. And you give these celebrities the world, but just a little bit underneath it, and they know what they're missing out on. And that is something that plays a huge factor, I'm sure, in a lot of these talented people. Paden, if you were thinking of the way that that kind of works with people, these smart, already kind of nuts guys that get into drugs or they get into all the different pressures of Hollywood, what are your thoughts about that? I mean, is that something that it doesn't matter who you have around you. It doesn't matter what your upbringing is. If you've got that tick, it's gonna go boom eventually.
Well, I think once again comes down to people's personal abilities to handle these things. I mean, even as just regular people, we go through this age where we want to party and our friends want to party and everyone around us want to party. We want to drink, we want to smoke pot, we want to take Molly, we want to do all this crazy shit. This affects everybody. The problem is people in Hollywood have it so much more readily available and they always got to up the ante. You know, if the people at some rat club in New York City is taking 5 hits of Molly, I need to do 10 hits of Molly because I'm fucking big man in Hollywood. That's what I got to do. That's the problem. So it's all in personal things. I mean, everyone just needs to know their own limits, know what they're getting themselves into, but they feel invincible because that's the way they're made to feel. So it's like, yeah, I could take all this that would normally kill a man. I'm fine. It's not going to do anything to me. And then it does. And once again, that's not everybody. Some people know their limits. Some people party responsibly, and they should be allowed to. I think just because someone goes out and drinks and does whatever, even if they're in Hollywood, it doesn't make them a bad person. It's just all about how you can handle yourself. Don't fucking drive drunk. Don't overdose. Don't do stupid shit. That's all it
Mhm.
takes. And that's something everyone needs to avoid. The problem is people in Hollywood, when they get caught, they really get caught. And it doesn't matter how little of a celebrity you are. If you get a DUI, if you accidentally kill somebody, even if I'm saying like even if it's completely 100% accidental in some situation, whatever you do, it's going to be blown up 40 times more than if you were just some regular Joe Schmo that did it.
Right, and then it
That's the point.
has an effect on your career, your money, your love life, everything. Instead of just, that guy that is from our town did that, and this select group of people are going to know and everybody else is going to keep it quiet. It's out there. Perez Hilton will post something about it on his website. Fanboys Anonymous will post something on their website because we're fucking scavengers. But Eddie, what do you think about this? Is this something where the mindset of somebody can play a bigger factor than anything else, or what do you think?
Man, I could say so many things about the factors at play here, but primarily, I mean, I just want to one step back when Mike mentioned some of the Game of Thrones actors, like the one that played Joffrey. Uh, Again, we're talking about these kid actors who were in the spotlight, but they dealt with the pressure and all, and they made right choices. It's a, I mean, England is one culture, the United States is another. In the United States, everybody is born thinking, "Wow, I was born in America. Hence, if I want, I can become an astronaut or a movie star or president or whatever." So there's this giant goal ahead of you, right? Immediately, and if you're not going to strive to go for that goal, you're not going to be anything, and you're going to be treated like some below average idiot. And here's a Robin Williams factor, real quick. I read an article on Cracked.com a few days after Robin Williams died, and essentially it was a serious article. It's a very serious article about the editor. telling his tale about, like how he, as the class clown, found acceptance in being funny. Because if
Mm.
before he was funny, nobody took him seriously. Everybody made fun of him, and you know what? That happened to me too. I became this obnoxious class clown because I was just some boring kid who liked video games, and I had nothing
Aw.
going for me. And then, no, I mean, no big deal. I mean, jokes on them. I had a. I mean, looking back at the people that made fun of me and shit. I mean, I'm glad that they did because they brought out the best in me. I was forced to learn. I began playing guitar. I started writing songs. After because I mean the class clown thing is cool, but after a while, I just kind of, I don't know, I kind of matured out of it. It didn't feel right anymore. But then you take Chris Farley, John Belushi, Robin Williams, and so many other comedians. These guys, they're constantly they need that validation. Like, oh my God, Chris Farley was like, I'm a
Yeah.
fat fuck who's good for nothing, but they love it when I make him laugh. They love me when I make them laugh. So that's all he had going for him. But honestly, the guy died alone with like with a hooker leaving him in a hotel room, for crying out loud. So here's the thing though. In the U.S., there's that big pressure where you have to succeed, right? And there's also the fact that it's very easy to get any type of drug anywhere at any moment. Like you go to a shrink. Oh, I'm depressed. Oh, it's cool. Here's some Ritalin. Like I swear, I have this friend from France. It was a few months after he had just. This is when I was in Florida in college. It had been a few months after he was there, and he started feeling down or something. I don't know. I told him it's probably like I don't know, the winter or something in
Homesickness
Florida.
or
But
something.
there's no snow in Florida. I told him it probably depressed me. So he was like, oh, so I went, he went to the doctor. I was like, so, man, like, what's going on? Are you lacking vitamins or something? He was like, no, it's okay. You can just take this. He forgot what the name was, but he said when he got home, he was like, okay, let me research. He just typed it on Google. He's like, he said like, man, it was like some super strong antidepressant that I had to take for like 6 months. And and if I didn't improve in 6 months, I would have to take for another year or something. He was like, forget it, man. I'll stay depressed because
Yeah.
like drugs. It's as cliche as it is. Drugs are bad. I mean, honestly, if you have proper diet, which is not easy, if you have proper diet and you're not surrounded by people pushing weed or coke or heroin onto you, then there's no real reason for you to become addicted. I mean, it's the fact that people become depressed is primarily because it's poor brain chemistry. Sometimes it's genetic, like Caroline said. It's true. Sometimes it happens for no particular reason other than, oh man, it's in my family or schizophrenia, but that's a little something else. That's something else altogether.
Well, plus there's also the
But
factors that you mentioned, the pressure to succeed. That's coupled with jealousy if you do succeed. All the other people in
oh
Hollywood,
yeah,
they don't want you to succeed. They want to be able to
oh yeah,
leech off your success.
I
And they're
absolutely, dude. One of the worst things you
constantly
can face in your life is envy.
right.
If
And
somebody is envious of you, that is, I mean, they're sucking away. Believe me, this is actually scientific. Like the human mind is very strong. There was a Japanese scientist that actually proved that your thoughts, like he had like two cups of rice, and every day somebody would hold a cup of rice and like it was like whenever they were angry or pissed off or something, and then whenever somebody was really happy, they would get the other cup of rice and just for a few seconds or a minute or something, just hold on to it. And after a month, you can see one rice rotted and the other one was fine.
huh,
I
that's
kid you
really
not, shit
Yeah.
like this actually happens. So I mean, the mind is actually it's much more powerful than we could possibly think. So I mean, to imagine like, wow, like you're the butt of every joke in your class. Wow, so 30 people hate you, big deal. Like 1 million people hate you because you were Anakin Skywalker.
well, the with the pressure to succeed and the jealousy for success and all that, we also have a culture that loves it when people fail.
That's true.
Oh, fuck yeah.
Absolutely loves it. I mean, we have tabloids and we have paparazzi and we could talk about paparazzi separately a little bit later, but the tabloids, and I'm even going to give credit to us for doing this. I mean, when there's an article on Fanboys Anonymous that is a celebrity tagged article, more often than not, it's this celebrity was arrested, this celebrity died, this celebrity is in some kind of a scandal, more than it is this celebrity did some kind of an awesome charity thing or whatever, because that's the stuff that people that listen to the media are interested in. The news itself is horrible, and you can't watch a news program anymore that actually just says the news from around the area of things like they decided that they were going to fix that pothole on Main Street. No, instead it's what's the big health scare that's going on right now.
Are you thinking of Bowling for
Well,
Columbine, real quick?
Bowling for Columbine and stuff like that. Like we've got this idea where we need to be negative about everything for some reason, and you've got celebrities like Robin Williams who are supposed to be the antidote to that, and that's pressure itself.
Well, let me tell you something about
Constantly
Robin Williams.
being told that you are not only the person responsible for making everybody forget about those kind of things, which is a huge responsibility, but if you don't pull off being the funniest guy or whatever, the Crazy Ones TV show, it didn't do that well. It gets canceled. That's a shot to your ego because your show got canceled. It means you don't get as much money. It means you're not as funny as you used to be. And then those bad habits can rear their ugly heads back because nobody's going to give you any sympathy. They're just going to laugh at the fact that your show didn't do that well. Now,
Well, let
Paden,
me tell you something.
you didn't say anything about the idea of the pressure to succeed and stuff. Before you get that point out, Eddie, I want to see if Paden and Caroline have anything to say about that, because I think that we're going to jump onto a different thing here. But Paden, what do you think about the pressure to succeed thing?
Well, it's absolutely true. I mean, that's something that happens in any type of job you're going into. I mean, right now, at the job I'm at, it's just a simple freaking retail job at a mall, but there's pressure to have to succeed, and I'm competing with all these other people to get a management position. And it can get cutthroat. I'm not someone who personally would go into those means, especially over something so frivolous like just a mall job, but people do. Some people really will step on each other and tell bold-faced lies about each other to get themselves into just the littlest job positions. Now imagine what you would do to when you start involving multi-million-dollar movie parts or things like that. People will do dirty, damn dirty things to each other and even to themselves if it means that they'll get to succeed in that environment. And the sad thing is a lot of these people don't realize that there's other options. There's other parts that they can get, or maybe they could just stop acting. Maybe there's something else they can go into. And to bring this to something else that me and Tony are really versed on, wrestling, a lot of these wrestlers will just get stuck in this wrestling rut and they don't realize that there's other careers they can go to. Like a lot of wrestlers later on in life will find themselves going into real estate or other things, and these people won't do that. They'll just keep wrestling until they're freaking 90 like Ric Flair, and now he's dealing with all the crap he's got in his life, like 5 freaking divorces that he's paying alimony on and all this other crap. Or hell, let's not even get started on Hulk Hogan and his whole family's problems. Why can't people just I don't know. Everyone's responsible for their own destiny, and when you have those pressures on you, and if it's too much, then leave it. It's just not for you. And people need to realize that sooner rather than keep pushing themselves into the situation where they're going to get themselves and all the people around them hurt.
What do you think about the pressure to succeed, Caroline? Is it something that when you fail that much more, and it becomes that much more taxing on you? And I mean, it is. I mean, you don't even need to
right.
figure that out. But what are your thoughts on this kind of an idea?
Well, I just wanted to say that, well, I'm from Brazil, actually, and I get everything you guys are saying about how things are here in the United States, how everybody is very, it really just wants to succeed, really just has high dreams from themselves. Yeah, that is very true. I came from a family where my parents are very intelligent, very into the academic life. And to me, it always felt like failing was not an option. And if I failed at one exam, it meant that I just failed at life. And I feel like, and I know it's crazy, but I feel like a lot in our society, in the States, in other countries, Asian countries too, there is this idea in the human mind that everything's very black and white. You have this dream, you go for it. If you fail, it just means that that's it. You know, you fail at the one thing that you really wanted to accomplish. So what now? You need to keep trying, like the oh God, Hulk Hogan and all the other wrestlers you guys were mentioning, or people that do other sports or artists, anybody. I just think that we're just very, as human beings, we're just still very caught up in that mentality that got us through our the beginnings of humans and the planet. It's about survival. Like you can't really fail, because fail might mean that that's your only choice. Like you need to succeed. If you fail, that's it. You might not get another chance. You might not get a chance at all. And it's sad and it sucks. And I feel like we're still passing on to this new generation coming up, is that you have to push yourself really hard. And if you can make it, well, maybe the doctor will prescribe you some drugs for it. Or maybe you just need to find those drugs yourself, or anything you can get to the next level. And I mean, it's a crazy idea, and obviously, not everybody's going to be able to keep up with that. I mean, I don't think most people will be able to keep up with that. And the people that do try to keep up with that and seem to be being really successful at it will break at some point. I mean, there's only so much we can take. So, yeah, it sucks. That's all I have to say.
Going back to what you were about to say before, Eddie, on the pressures to succeed and Robin Williams and the Chris Farley story and everything like that. What was build on top of that? What was some of the things that you were going to say about that?
Well, first of all, what I'm going to say is a little bombastic, but it's true. I expected Robin Williams to die any day. I mean, he was part of that whole cocaine generation of comedians that was coming out in the late 70s, and it was almost a given. I don't think there was a single, if there was anybody in showbiz. I mean, for real. I mean, people don't say this enough, but back in the early 80s, if you were in showbiz, you did cocaine. There was no way around it. I mean, there are very few people that did not do it. I mean, I'm talking like A-list, right? I'm sure the up and coming actor was kind of like struggling, maybe couldn't pull it off, but it was a very strange time for them. I mean, there's this new substance in town, everybody's doing it, and oh man, it's gonna help my career if I hang out with these guys doing coke, and and now it's just become part of the culture. Although we have all sorts of like actresses or actors that are like, oh, I'm 100% vegan and healthy and I don't do that kind of stuff supposedly, but
that's gonna kill them next.
Yeah. The point is, Tony, you did mention a society of fear, right? I mean, like in Bowling for Columbine, Michael Moore looks up at the TV, in America, and it's like guns, fight, death, evil, AIDS, fire, and then in Canada, it's like, oh no, the government has issued a new tax for pothole construction, whatever. It's like, what the hell?
We try that new donut at Tim Hortons, eh?
Yeah, there's such fear, and here's the thing, man. It's all about control. There's mass control of the population because first of all, people fear stuff. You fear everything. Even again in Bowling for Columbine, such a delicate subject was touched upon, and Marilyn Manson gave like a 30-second interview, and she said it all. And they're like, oh, you're afraid you're gonna get bad breath, and the girl's not gonna want to fuck you because you have pimples and whatever. And basically, if you keep Mike, what are you writing there? Control. Okay.
Yeah, you went a little transformery on us for a second there.
So then this whole fear thing, and then add that to the fact that a lot of doctors make commission on pills that they prescribe.
Right.
And then add that, so you're not only looking at substances like alcohol and cocaine, but when you have a friend that's like, oh, it's okay, I have this doctor, he can help you out, and it's like, okay, he just gave me Prozac. Yeah, big fat help, huh? When all you need is some. What was the substance? Damn it, it's even in pasta, man. What was that substance that I read that is it's in broccolis and stuff?
What?
Niacin, I think that's it. Yeah, it's like basically there was this case of a woman who was like she could not like leave the bed because she was so depressed. She couldn't get up. And then one day this one doctor, like just try niacin, these niacin heavy pills like super like 1,000% of a dosage, and she take them regularly, and she became normal. Like nothing ever happened. She was normal, whistling, happy, whatever, with no side effects. No like, oh my god, I got to shoot up the school or something. Nothing like that. And then she went off the pills, and back to square one. She couldn't get out of bed. So sometimes it's just that, like you're lacking sunshine or not enough vitamin C or whatever. And then the U.S. is notorious for not having very nutritious food. No offense. And
But
so
it's
many of these
delicious.
factors.
No offense.
Yeah, it
taken.
is.
I had
No, I
McDonald's
agree,
earlier
man.
today, and I feel like shit.
I agree. Krispy Kremes is really great, but it'll kill you like in the head. No offense to Krispy Kreme, but here's the thing though. Here's the thing. So
For our sponsors, Krispy Kreme.
yeah, just a call out to if any fast food chain wants to sponsor Fanboys Anonymous.
Yeah.
So
We'll gladly eat your donuts and then go nuts and crazy about it.
Go nuts for donuts.
Oh crap! Dude.
So, Eddie, I'm actually really glad you brought up Big Pharma because, I mean, they still haven't 100% figured out what happened with Robin Williams, but I believe it was Rob Schneider, which, let's take the opinion of Rob Schneider. But the thing that he pointed out was that Robin Williams was heavily on some medication for Parkinson's, and apparently this medication had a heavy side effect of creating depression and even suicide. So Big Pharma is certainly a responsibility for changing the ways people's bodies works. I mean, that's happened to anybody. I'm very hesitant about putting any type of man/machine made pill into my body. I'll go ahead and say it forthright. I smoke a lot of pot. Pot doesn't bother me. Pot comes from Mother Nature. It comes from the ground. But you hand me any kind of pill, I'm instantly really skeptical of it, and I will not take it unless I'm 100% sure it's safe and I need it. And that's a problem that goes all around. Like, that's not just for celebrities. That's for every single one of us. We're putting all this terrible, terrible stuff into our bodies so that doctors and some scientists can make a few bucks.
Well, that's not only it. I mean, you're totally right, and I agree. I mean, you complimented what I was about to say, and it's just it becomes really hard to who are you going to trust. I mean, when you look at Hollywood's a microcosm. It's a metaphor for the rest of the world. I mean, who are you going to trust in Hollywood? Who can you trust if people learn that, oh no, this is definitely the best thing for you, and you go on some crazy weird Scientology trip, which is
Tom
basically
Hanks.
just a social club for people who want to throw money at the organizers. That's
Tom Hanks,
all
the
it
only
is.
person I would trust. 'Cause Tom Hanks
who?
never does anything.
Okay, fine. Tom Hanks is cool.
Everybody else, I mean, fucking Mel Gibson tells me to do something or whatever. No, I'm not gonna do that.
Or Tom Cruise going like, hey, for a nominal fee, you too can join the Church of Scientology.
Right, but if I'm at a party hanging out with a bunch of people and Tom Hanks is like, oh, if you've got a headache here, it's Advil. I'd be like, I think that it's Advil that he's giving me.
No, wait, dude, let me
Tom
tell you
Hanks.
something. No. Let me tell you something about hanging out with celebrities. If you're okay, I have another instructor at my university who like worked live shows. Like he got like with like 10 feet or 5 feet within close to Bob Dylan. He was close to 5 feet within the Bob Dylan, yeah. Because he worked with like so many famous musicians. I don't know who else he worked with. Justin Timberlake and whatever. I don't know, like a lot of people. Anyways, he said, if you're a fan of someone, don't meet them. Because they're going to say something stupid. They're going to do something stupid, and it's all going to fall away. Because celebrities are people, they're assholes just like you and me. Right? So if you like someone, if you think Tom Hanks is great, sit next to him for like 5 minutes and try to talk to him.
No,
even if he starts a conversation with you, it'll be like, Man, okay. Some people go like Dave Grohl. I'm pretty sure Dave Grohl will be cool all the time, right? But I don't know. On average, like celebrities have a really, really weird vibe going on because they're 24 hours going like, oh man, I got to keep this image. And not because they want to be the best all the time, but because it's a defensive mechanism. And here's the thing, going back to that whole like being validated for being funny. Robin Williams was phenomenally. I mean, he was great. I Not my style of comedy. Like I didn't go like I wouldn't just like burst out laughing with his jokes, but yeah, he was great and he had such an upbeat too. Like like to me the symbol of a proper comedian is Robin Williams because he was in that video with Bobby McFerrin. Don't worry, be happy. You know that one, right? He was around that kind of humor, that kind of funny. I don't think he ever really um, did
He never did like toilet humor. He was a
yeah
genuinely funny
yeah,
guy.
exactly. He didn't do shit humor.
He didn't go for cheap
good
laughs.
humor. Yeah, exactly. He went for genuine, he went for, I don't know how else to put it. He went for positive laughing, right? And I think that weighs so much on someone because he's the kind of person who wants to he sees the world for what it could be. As an artist, I feel the same. We see the world for what it could be, for the beauty that it could have, and for the for the comedy that it actually is, without having to take it too seriously. But then when the show's over, what happens? Wow, everything actually is crap. Wow, no wonder that he's gonna go off and do some coke. Because you don't want to stop
can't get
laughing.
that kind of
You don't
experience
want to
by
stop
actually
laughing.
looking at the world around you. I mean, you put a lot of pressure on the person who has to be the happy person all the time. And another thing, and this is tying into something I said we talk about a little bit later, was not only do you have the pressure where you have to be that kind of person all the time, but you're also constantly in the sights of others that are watching you. The paparazzi follows people around everywhere. You can't get your family to not be involved. You can't step outside your house without having a mob of people that are taking your picture doing the most mundane things because if they see that you're eating cheesecake, well, then there's going to be people talking about what are you trying to gain weight now or something? Or why are you eating cheesecake instead of this kind of cake? Or this is the place that you shop, or these are the shoes that you wear, or whatever. The paparazzi is something that has to weigh down on these people and make them just so depressed because everybody needs their downtime. And when you're a celebrity, you don't get downtime. You have to play up your character 24/7 for all the cameras that are around when you're not even filming anything. And that's something that's really crazy. What do you think about that, Caroline? Is the paparazzi a huge, huge factor in here that really should be dealt with?
Yeah, I mean, I can't even imagine what it would feel like for you to not even be able to, I don't know, go take out your trash or play with your kid on the playground or anything like that and have people snapping pictures of you. I mean, I know that I would get really paranoid. It's just, but then again, like, it's hard because I do have to say, I do buy those gossip magazines and I do look at the pictures that the paparazzi take. I feel that it's my fault too. It's not just the paparazzi, but also the public really wanted to see those pictures and paying money to see all that. It's almost like sometimes celebrities are not even human. They're just there as objects that just are meant to entertain. And just going back to the whole thing of wanting to see people fail, yeah. I mean, if we see a celebrity like Britney, like when she gained a lot of weight and then she shaved her head, I mean, I guarantee that sold way more magazines than when we see her getting back to her former self and taking care of her kids the way she should have. So I think it's a mixture of paparazzi and the public as well. employing those paparazzi to take those pictures and just making celebrities' lives more challenging and with no real downtime and time for themselves.
What do you think about this, Paden?
I think Carolyn is absolutely 100% correct. As much as we could say the paparazzi themselves are guilty, it's the human people themselves are the most responsible for this, because we're the ones who are going out there and buying those tabloids. We're watching those channels. We're watching TMZ. And you know what? Credits to TMZ, actually. They capitalized off of initially making themselves just a regular tabloid show and going off of celebrity. They've expanded themselves into being a serious news show now. Like, they're one of the most credible news sources out there of anything on TV. So kudos to them for at least expanding themselves, even though they still heavily involve themselves in celebrity news and all that and gossip. But they've at least taken that opportunity to expand themselves further outward, and maybe eventually they can get away from it. But as long as people are making ratings with that stuff, as long as that's what people are showing interest in, that's the way it's going to be. Wasn't this like the plot for Anchorman 2? Like, originally, like, didn't Will Ferrell's character want to keep, like, reporting regular old school news, but the times were changing and they had to start showing, like, crap?
I don't know. I turned off Anchorman 1.
I don't know.
What?
Yeah, not my type of humor, sorry.
Yeah, I got about 5 minutes into him just being like, "I'm Will Ferrell."
No, don't say that, man. Don't say that. Will Ferrell might grow depressed or something. You never know who's listening, man.
I'm trapped in a glass cage of emotion.
If Will Ferrell
is listening, never seen Anchorman.
If he's listening to this, then as much as I do not care for Anchorman, Stranger Than Fiction is fucking awesome. So you get a lot of credit for that.
I like the Talladega Nights.
I didn't see that either.
Oh man, the whole Ricky Bobby scene with the guy Sacha Baron Cohen. Oh my god, that scene's classic, man.
But you know, the pressures of the paparazzi and the people that buy into that kind of stuff, like you were saying, Paden, the TMZ and Fanboys Anonymous, even, you know, I can't deny it, and all of the other gossip things out there, and I'm sure that culture just breeds insanity, and it's crazy to think that you've got these people that are really, really talented and probably really nice people, and they're overlooked for no reason other than that they don't have some kind of a hook, and then they're struggling to be in the acting business or the music business or whatever. It doesn't really matter. They're all the same. And then you've got somebody like a Paris Hilton who makes millions and millions of dollars, or a Kim Kardashian, you know, has this empire built around them because they're a fuck up that people like seeing fuck up. And it's such a shame, because not to say that this directly affected Robin Williams, because of course we don't know, but somebody like Robin Williams, he really put the effort, you could tell, into a lot of the different things that he worked on. And I watched 1 or 2 episodes of The Crazy Ones, and I didn't think that it was that funny, but that could have just been the writers of the show or the directors or whatever not translating well. He probably put so much more effort into that and really wanted that to succeed because of the fact that he hadn't been on TV in a long time, and it hurt that much more when it didn't, to see these stupid reality shows that are on their 10th season of Celebrity Housewives in Orange County or something like that. And that's got to weigh on you. It weighs on me even to know how much effort and work that I put into my wrestling website and Fanboys and all my different projects, and then to see that I'm not at the level that I should be yet I can see these people on YouTube that do unboxing videos, or just because they're attractive and they want to show off their chest, this girl gets, 3 million subscribers in 2 months, and I've been on there for years and I've got 1,000.
Tony, what if we spent the last week watching a lot?
What did we watch? I don't know.
Fish playing video games.
Yes.
I am currently, right now, I just actually reopened it, so it's funny you bring this up. I am watching not one, but 2 fish fight against each other on Street Fighter 2.
By the way, who's winning?
It's pretty evenly matched right now, but I think Robert the Bruce might
Robert
pull
the
this one
Bruce?
out.
Woo.
Yeah, I think he might pull this one out. Oh, yeah, he's on the move. He's got this.
Which that's crazy though. Isn't it crazy? Because we can sit there and we listen to this and watch this after we had recorded one of our podcasts, which we put a lot of effort into these podcasts. We have to edit them, we have to record them, we have to plan ahead of time, we have to actually, set up promotional stuff for this. And yet at the end of recording that Monday Night Raw post show or the Smack Talk one, whatever one it was the other day that we were doing at that time, we decide that we're going to go check out Fish play video games on Twitch. And at the time that we're doing that, it's like 3 in the morning, and there's 6,000 people watching it. And we're like, God damn it, the last episode that we uploaded on YouTube might have 200 hits. And that's over the course of
Yeah.
a week. Yet there's 6,000 people that are like, let me go watch this Fish play Street Fighter. It's crazy, and that has to weigh on you so much when you're such a talented person, and you've got these other pressures that we had talked about, and everything's fake, and you've got these yes men, but they're also, they want to see you fail, and when you do fail, everybody blows it out of proportion that much more, and they can even just make something up about you, and you get the negative stigma. It's insane. So no wonder why depression hits a lot of these people, because depression can hit us all, and it's not a safety net. Some people like to complain, and I haven't heard people say this necessarily about Robin Williams yet, but I've heard it about a lot of people recently. I heard it about Philip Seymour Hoffman. I heard it about almost anybody who dies of something that isn't a pure accident. Obviously, people aren't talking about it with Paul Walker or whatever, but any of the drug addicts or whatever in Hollywood, a lot of people have the same complaint where they say, but you're rich and famous. Why would you ever want to kill yourself? Because of all these other things. I mean, the big thing that goes around when it comes to money and the whole root of all evil adage is that that's not your best friend. You can have all the money in the world, but that's not going to be something that loves you back. And
Right.
that is, I think, probably one of the saddest things about being a celebrity.
As a matter of fact, that's going to attract a lot of negativity.
Right.
Because it's money is a tool. It's just something that allows you to, it's the blood flow of, our current society, a big deal. It's not who you are. It's not part of you. It's just something that you can use, but unfortunately, there are a lot of lowlifes because there is such thing as good people and bad people. Honestly, and not because I've never met anybody who's genuinely evil. That doesn't exist. That's comic book stuff. That doesn't. I've seen ignorant.
Don't know, man.
I've seen I've seen ignorant. I'm serious. I've seen ignorance. I've seen stupidity. I've seen all sorts of things. But genuine.
Are you aware of ISIS?
I was just
I'm pretty
thinking
sure they're
about that.
genuinely bad people.
All right.
Even Al
chill.
Qaeda hates those guys.
All right. Chill. Let's not get into semantics here. But the point is, you're going to draw a lot more negativity from people who are interested in materialism than you're going to attract, people who actually want your well-being. Because it's so hard to see through the materialism. I mean, I've met very few people in my life that I can't say I know you guys truly, so you're excluded. But for the most part, I've met very few people who know what life is actually about. Who know that it's so much more important to not step on other people. Mike, you're at a job. It's some job. It's just some job, but people will kill each other for it, for a promotion.
Mm-hmm.
They will lie. They will sabotage the other person, and we live in a world that's like that. So it's and I know a lot of people who have no problem doing, stepping on other people, and then very few actually will discuss this with me and say, God, the things are so wrong. Somewhere along the way, we fail to dominate, our instincts, and it's all about, screw it. I want to succeed, whatever the cost. And a lot of sometimes it's a little bit of everything. It's a little bit of daddy issues, oh man, I gotta succeed, so my dad can be proud of me finally. But that's never gonna happen. It's placebo. It's a pipe dream. I mean, if it's in your psychology, nothing is gonna erase it. So that I mean, you have this whole thing with you have to up the children need proper upbringing, and then if you throw them, of course, you throw them in Hollywood, or you throw them in front of the TV, or give them an iPad when they're 4. It's just you're just basically you're planting a really shitty seed for the rest of the world. But there was something I really wanted to touch on. It's something to do with Robin Williams, believe it or not. But I'll pass. It'll come to me.
Well, is there any other topics that you guys want to throw out there? Caroline, is there something we haven't touched on yet that you want to toss out for us to start discussing?
Give me a minute to think.
All right, Paden, anything else there other than a little update that Rob the Bruce did win?
Yeah. No, honestly, I'm impressed we got as much discussion out of this as we did. This is a very timely topic, and it's a very real problem. So, I mean, I'm happy we did. When you first nominated, I was like, oh, are we really going to get interest in this, or are people going to show up, or are we going to talk about it? And I'm proud of us. I think we kept it classy for the most part.
I think we did a really good job. I'm glad that we talked about these things. I have people in my family that do deal with mental illness, and really bad ones. So it's always good to see that people are talking more about this and just not being afraid to discuss topics that might be really dark and just controversial. So cool. I'm happy.
And we joke around a lot on this show. I mean, we threw some jokes out for this episode as well because we try to keep things fun and
totally.
lighthearted and everything. Normally our episodes are about silly topics. What superpower would you want to have? Or we're going to eventually do an episode in the future, I don't know when, of who would your goal be if you could date anybody that's a fictional character. Like, the little stupid ideas like that. But when it comes down to it,
Cool.
I mean, we have this website built around the idea that we are fans of this kind of these subject matters, and it weighs on fans in different ways than it does the people that are involved. And we also joke that the Fanboys Anonymous name, it's obviously a play on Alcoholics Anonymous, the equivalent of that for geeks and everything like that. But the truth of the matter is substance abuse, drug addiction, all that stuff, very, very serious matters. We can joke about stuff as much as we can try to keep things, have a little bit of levity behind them, but they are really serious, and depression is about as damaging as it can get. There's always a chance that you can be your own worst enemy, and there's always a chance that you can be involved in the wrong people and the wrong situations. And if you know somebody who is struggling with that, there are resources out there that you can consult to try to help them. None of us have all the answers. So we don't want to approach this as the idea of like we're trained psychologists and that's how we can do that. We're clearly not. I mean, I've got that whole psychologist to friends of mine kind of a thing going on, but I've got no physical training behind it or whatever. But even to quote Robin Williams himself, something that he had said, which when this was going around that he had killed himself a couple days ago, I saw one image that I hadn't seen before that actually made me kind of sit and think about it. A lot of people were posting the picture of the genie, saying you're free now, genie, and whatever. People posting things from 1 Hour Photo or from Jumanji, the little jokes about stuff. Of course, people sometimes taking it to bad extremes and sometimes just flat out being upset about it because they are going to miss Robin Williams. But one thing actually stood out to me, and that was a quote that he had said before of suicide is a permanent solution to a temporary problem. And it's a real shame that even Robin Williams had gotten to a point where he cleaned his act up and he was able to tell people that's not something that you should consider an option. Yet it reared its ugly head again, and it ended up being too much. It's a shame, especially because of how talented he was and how beloved he was by so many people. It's not to downplay the people that aren't, to say that they're not worth as much or anything like that. That's clearly not what I'm going for. But for somebody who does have such a strong fan base and such talent, to not be able to get past whatever that was that he had going on, that makes it even more tragic. If your life is total garbage, you can sort of justify it a little bit. You know, you grew up with abusive parents, you're poor, you have no friends, no family, nobody to love you back. It makes sense. And then when you've got the potential to have such a huge impact on everybody, and for them to have an impact on you too. I mean, you get a humble enough celebrity, they'll admit that they can be in a really bad situation, and some person can come up to them and just be like, "Oh, I loved you in this movie," and it can turn their whole day around. It's really a shame that Robin Williams must have been so far gone and unable to take himself out of the metaphorical quicksand, that all the benefits from the money, all the benefits from the fame, all the benefits from knowing that he can make people laugh and has that talent just wasn't good enough. And if you are a person who suffers from any form of abuse or addiction or depression or whatever like that, you don't have that kind of a safety net, but you nonetheless should seek help for it.
As a matter of fact, sometimes it's better not to have too much around your life. Simplicity is at times the best way to deal with it. Because if you have too much going on, it's really hard to really see. It's really because sometimes depression is actually something good. Sometimes it's something that you're forced to introspect and find out more about yourself, and then it'll actually help to help you to grow. And like I was depressed for like 10 years or something, like back in high school, and then I was like, well, what am I gonna do with my life? Then I got into music, but only like 6 or 7 years ago it kind of ended. Even though my dad died in that period, I kind of got out of depression in that period. It was weird, but it just kind of happened. I became introspective. I had to grow. And after all that I had learned on my own time, when I was alone and stuff, I was able to apply it on my when I was back to a full social life. So although I was never like locked in my room. But as far as addiction is concerned, if you really want to understand addiction, you should read Anthony Kiedis' autobiography, Scar Tissue, because he touches on a subject that's very interesting. Like once you're an addict, you're always an addict. You're an addict for the rest of your life. But you learn, just accept it. Like it's okay to want to crave a substance. It's okay to crave a beer. It's okay to crave, heroin or coke or whatever it is. It's okay to crave that. Let it be, and that's the way he put it. And be religious about something. Like help other. A lot of addicts. As a matter of fact, I think every addict in the world ever in history would only listen to other addicts. It's that kind of thing. Like, oh, you don't know what I'm going through. But if somebody has been addicted and they have credibility, they have street cred when it comes to other addicts, so they get to speak. I can only say from what I read, and because I'm a rock fan, I'm a metal fan. I hear about drug abuse all the time in every biography I read. I even have friends who've dealt with drugs and stuff, and it really sucks because it's like the thing about they don't really say about cocaine is like, oh yeah, he became addicted, but once you sniff coke, apparently your brain will always kind of itch, going like, hey, you gotta scratch this. Hey, you gotta scratch this. That's how cocaine works. And the heroin's another ordeal. Heroin is even worse. Because apparently there are people who can. There's a 50-50 chance if you become addicted to heroin, you are so unlikely to get out of it that if you look at again the same band, Chili Peppers, if you look at John Frusciante, like it's literally a miracle he got out of it. Like the guy was nearly dead. Like he lost his teeth due to an infection and all that. And he's totally cool now. There's some heavy shit, and what's even worse is that the pharmaceutical companies, they deliberately try to get people to go to shrinks and get these pills that are just as addictive to anybody who can afford it. So
You can.
so it's a very strange world we're living in right now, and the fact that Robin Williams passed really sucks, but it's not a surprise.
You can sit.
It just it should have happened to someone else. It should have happened to, I don't know,
This is like almost
talentless, person who shall remain unnamed, but that's not how it worked.
So, wrapping up what we've got to say here, unless anybody else has anything else that they want to kind of toss out there. Paden, is there anything that you can think of?
I'm going to think of something as soon as we go off. At this moment, though, my mind's pretty blank.
Caroline, anything else?
No, I just want to, again, thank you guys for having this discussion. I think it's really, really cool. It's always good to see everybody's different takes on a subject like this. And it's awesome that, yes, I love the fact that we put some jokes in there to make light of the situation, and the other podcasts are going to be lighter. But I also think it's really important for us every now and then to have these out about something that it's impactful, and hopefully it might help somebody out. Maybe somebody will be listening to this and not be so ashamed of asking for help or seeking out the resources. There are a dozen websites, billion websites on depression and anxiety, and they not only will give you information on how to find somebody to talk to, their groups, but also they have really, really awesome little exercises that somebody can do by themselves at home, where it's just mainly to calm your mind and make you feel more grounded. Yeah, that's it.
All right, then one last thing that we were going to do here is we're going to go around the table one more time and get out some promotion, any kind of things that you guys want to plug.
Yes! Robert DeBruce just won another one. 12-2, baby.
Oh my God.
What the hell? I'm going to bet on that fish.
I want to see this.
Next podcast, Robert the Bruce.
We might have to do it. We might have to do like a championship ceremonial thing of Robert the Bruce. A whole lot of these.
Yeah. We'll send him a medal.
So, is there anything that you want to plug to what's going on out there for people to pay attention to? Eddie, you're up first.
Yes, Tony. As a matter of fact, I'm going to be working on a lot of music for anything Fanboys Anonymous related.
Very much
because
so.
you asked me. Yeah, because you kind of asked for it, and then I was the only one who really volunteered. And now I'm the only one who has any actual talent, musically speaking. So, I'm gonna pull it off because I feel it, because I feel like it. And by the way, yeah, speaking of being frustrated at watching people, talentless people, flourish in the media. How do you think I feel with the music nowadays?
Apparently, really depressed.
So yeah, next. Hey, man, you don't know what I know.
You might have a different idea about dubstep.
That's not even the worst. That's not even the worst, man.
Paden, anything you want to throw out there for promotional purposes?
Oh, there's always tons of stuff. The easiest thing to do is to follow my official Twitter. That's at MRPADEN. That's Mr. Paden. Also pay attention to all the things we got going on at megapowersradio.com. Often a lot of those shows are also archived on fanboysanonymous.com, same place you're hearing this very show. So stay tuned for all that, especially my Game of Thrones show, Sand and Snow, the Game of Thrones podcast. We're on Facebook and Twitter. Follow us on there for all the funnest Game of Thrones memes to help tide you over until season 5 starts. Woo! Season 5! Go into frickin' Dorne. Can't wait.
Maybe there'll be a couple more crazy deaths that can be tossed into that tournament.
I'm pretty sure there's going to be plenty of freaking deaths. I think that's one of the things you can be safe expecting when you're watching Game of Thrones.
Man, I'm just shit scared George R.R. Martin might die, man.
Yeah, well, you know what he says to people who say that? Fuck you.
Yeah, but I'm scared, man. He's old. He's not really healthy. You know, like he's overweight. Like,
Interesting note, he is actually taking season 5 of Game of Thrones off. He traditionally writes an episode and is usually heavily involved throughout the production. He's doing none of that for season 5 so he can finish the next book. So,
oh, I'm so excited about the next season then.
Caroline, anything you want to promote, plug, or get out there for people to pay attention to?
Sure. You guys can check my website. It's CZO Effects, and I do a lot of sculpting, especially now for Halloween. So just wait for some cool dragons and deformed baby fetuses to pop up in there.
Jesus.
The two most frequent requests.
Strangely, yes. Well, there are other ones, but I don't think I really want to talk about those. I feel like I'm gonna scare whoever said Jesus back in the background. So
who said that?
Some severed
Who said
limbs.
that?
Yeah, who said that? Oh, really?
Are we talking human baby fetuses, or like just generally like living mammal fetuses? Like, you know.
So this isn't gonna scare anybody off, right?
Some of them are like hybrid looking. If that helps.
Like X-Files?
Yeah. Yes.
Cool. Right.
All right. Big thanks to everybody on the panel for this evening, and for all of you out there for listening. Stay tuned for the next episode of the group meeting, which will be episode 10, if I'm remembering correctly. I don't know exactly what our topic is going to be, but if you have any suggestions, go ahead and leave those in the comments below. Also, stay tuned to everything else that's coming your way from fanboysanonymous.com, the Review Point podcast, the Fan Tracks. We've got the Sand and Snow podcast was mentioned earlier, the Dace Man Show, Nerd Court. God, there's so many of them that we lose track of this kind of stuff, but they're all there on fanboysanonymous.com. Go ahead and check that out. Maybe we'll be able to get Robert the Bruce for a special interview.
Woo!
I know the Dace Man's got a bunch of interviews coming up, so stay tuned for all those things. And if you're interested in joining the team and becoming a member of fanboysanonymous.com, you can always send in your application using the contact form of the website for various different purposes. We want to have as many people as possible join this collective and stand up and share with us. So, on behalf of not just myself, but everyone on the panel for this evening, and all the fanboys and fangirls that could not be here tonight, I'm Tony Mango, and no matter what, I am a fanboy. This meeting is adjourned. See you next time, everybody.